This episode and every episode of the Beer Guys Radio Show is brought to you by Ironmonger Brewing. Visit Ironmonger at their taproom in Marietta, Georgia, or online at ironmongerbrewing.com.
Open up a tab, grab a seat, and pour a pint. It's time for the Beer Guys Radio Show.
You want free beer? Go to the brewery.
Dedicated to the art, science, and enjoyment of craft beer.
Yeah, what's wrong with the beer we got?
Now, here are your hosts, Tim Dennis and Brian Hewitt.
And welcome to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We're broadcasting from the Beer Guys Radio Studios in Marietta, Georgia. This week, we're talking with Lonerider Brewing. I'm Tim Dennis, and with me, as always, is my good friend and co-host, Brian Hewitt.
Hey, Tim. So joining us today, we have Galen Smith, the head brewer at North Carolina's Lonerider Brewing. We're going to talk about Lonerider's 10th anniversary, Outlaws, beer trends, and we might even get into some spirits. Galen, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Tim, Brian, how you guys doing?
We're doing very well. Thank you. You know, we're going total outlaw. We went for a really heavy, serious beer right out of the gate here. We have Saloon-style Pilsner. So we're seeing Pilsners are picking up a little bit. Can you tell us a little bit about your take on the beer?
I sure can. Yeah. So Saloon-style Pilsner is a beer that's in a series of the Saloon style. So there's other beers in the Saloon style. We have Saloon-style Pilsner, Saloon-style Smash, and a few others. And it's kind of because of the way things are now in the beer industry, the lines are kind of blurred as far as styles go. So, you know, Saloon-style Pilsner is really our own take on Pilsner, and we made our own style. And it's kind of a blend of a few different, it's a kind of a hybrid of German and Bohemian Pils. It's brewed with Pilsner malt, an abundance of Saaz hops, and then we dosed a little bit of lemon zest at the end of the boil as well as the whirlpool.
See, so Saloon style is a series of beers that you do, or a family of beers that Lonerider does, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
See, I was kind of hoping you were going to tell me we found this under a dusty bar stool in a saloon, the remnants of a saloon from the 1860s. That would have...
And reconstructed it using chemical analysis.
And that's what made it Saloon style.
Man, that would have been a better story.
That would have been a good story.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You can start telling that story.
Yeah.
We won't tell anybody.
We won't tell anybody there, for sure. Well, Brian, busy week. Brian, busy week for you.
Very busy.
Are you jet lagged? Does 3 hours cause jet lag?
It's not the 3 hours. It's the constant, like, less than 4 hours of sleep every night and the go on a convention trade show floor. So,
right.
Yeah, I was over in Las Vegas, Tim. I was doing a cigar trade show, believe it or not. But I did sneak in some beer while I was there. I snuck out and checked out. I didn't even have to sneak out of the Venetian Casino. Sin City Brewing has a tap room right there in the casino. I didn't expect a lot. It's a casino.
Yeah, brewery and a casino, right? Yeah. Tap room.
Good IPAs. They had a good seasonal hazy IPA. They had a good traditional British IPA. I thought they were amazingly refreshing, good flavor. I'm like, this was really good. This is very convenient. But my favorite thing was getting out to Banger Brewing in downtown Las Vegas and that Morning Joe coffee Kolsch. I'm in love with that beer. That's so wonderful. I went there
it's
just
so
for that beer.
Easy to get you enamored with a coffee Kolsch or a blonde or
absolutely.
Or something like that. Just throw coffee in any beer.
Basically, yeah.
PBR has a coffee beer.
I've heard about this, and I'm a little excited about it.
Yeah. Have you tried that one yet, Galen? Have you got some PBR coffee beer?
I don't think it's made its way to Raleigh yet, but yeah, it's like I don't even know if they're marketing it as coffee beer. It's more like hard coffee, right?
You know, I think you're right. I think I did see they're going more hard coffee with it. So
I'm okay with that.
I will try it.
Yeah.
I will try it for science, for the beer industry. I will try
I'll
it.
certainly try
for you, Brian. He'll try it.
Yeah.
So I even got to do a bottle share out there with some fellow craft beer / cigar nerds. But so what did you do? I was out doing that. What were you doing while I was gone?
Celebrated the fact that you weren't here was my big thing. That was the big party. The Brian's not here. Yeah. No, Brick Store Pub, Brian. Your timing. Yeah. I know you love your cigar trade show. Annual pilgrimage out there to hang out with your cigar nerd side friends of things there. So always a good time. But Brick Store Pub, one of my favorite bars in the world, one of Atlanta's greatest bars. Actually, Decatur had their 22nd anniversary. So I went out there, checked that out, had a few beers there. And they were doing a Kolsch service, Brian. Brian, have you ever partaken of a traditional Kolsch service?
I don't think so. Is it like a church? Do you go in with the pews and everything?
No. Well, maybe there are I don't know. You're thinking yours sounds religious.
I mean, it could be.
Well, they had this set up in the beer garden, behind the pub there. And basically what it is, they've got these round trays that have holes where they put I know I get the name of this glass wrong. Stang or Stange. Galen, do you know the glasses I'm talking about?
Yeah, I've always pronounced it Stange.
Stange. That's we're going to go with that then. So, but they've got the tray with those on there. So what you do, Brian, is you just kind of hang out and you get a coaster and you drink your Kolsch, and they come around with trays and they give you another one. And they put a tick mark on your coaster. So once you're done sipping Kolsch's, then you square up. It's just easy way to keep the beer flowing.
Oh, I like that. It just keeps coming.
You'd be down for that.
That's fantastic.
Yeah,
absolutely. So that was a good time.
They're like the very slender, straight-sided glasses that are designed to be drank quick, so you can have another.
That's it. Yeah, just a perfectly straight glass, tall and slender. That's it exactly.
It's like a churrascaria, or what was the meat thing? The Brazilian meat
I know what you're talking. I wasn't sure where you were going, but now I get it.
A beerascaria or something, whatever.
Well, it actually said turn your coaster over when you were done, so it is like the churrascaria, the Brazilian steakhouse.
Yes, the Brazilian steakhouse.
Turn your coin over to the red side when you don't want any more steak. So,
I think it is time for the beers of the week, Tim.
Crack open a cold one. It's the Truck and Tap Beer of the Week. Woo-hoo! Craft beer and food trucks in downtown Woodstock. Truckandtap.com.
Well, Brian, as always, we have a fantastic list to drink from. We got some Lonerider beers, as you might expect. We're sipping the Saloon style Pilsner. Saloon style Pilsner. We also have the Hoppy Kaye IPA. And Brian, you pulled a couple from the vault.
Yes, I did.
So we have a 2013 and a 2015 Pistols at Dawn. That is a brunch stout. So we're going to get into that. We pre-gamed with a new one from Creature Comforts. Thank you, Creature Comforts, for the hookup here. Everything is a dry hopped Pilsner, which I enjoyed, man. I enjoy a little hops in the Pilsner there. And then out from Arizona, man, going out west to the Wild Wild West from Tombstone Brewing, we have their Passion Fruit Berliner. And Brian, I was asking myself, where is Tombstone Brewing? And that's because I'm an idiot that I had to ask myself that. It's Tombstone, Arizona, as
it
one
is,
may
in
guess.
fact,
So,
yes.
Yeah, so that's our beers that we'll sip on this week, Brian. What is going on in the news?
What's in the news? The beer guys have the scoop.
Extra, extra, read all about it.
Time for headlines.
All right, so we've got an update to a story we reported last week. So Brewbound is telling us that Celis Brewery has filed for bankruptcy, which is actually a good thing for them because that causes the foreclosure auction to be canceled. So they were not auctioned off. The bankruptcy filing gives us an idea of how bad the situation is, though. The brewery's total debt exceeds $10 million, and that's to hundreds of creditors, including brewery supply companies like Berlin Packaging, Country Malt, and the Crosby Hop Farm, not to mention debts to the IRS, the Texas Alcohol and Beverage Commission, and the TTB's Excise Tax Bureau, those are bad people who owe money.
You don't want to owe them money.
That's
right.
that's just about as bad as organized crime. You don't want to owe
well,
either
it
of those
basically is.
Yes. In a statement released this week, Christine Celis said that we intend to fix all of our issues through Chapter 11 process. It will allow us to continue to make my dad's legendary beers and grow within more realistic parameters, noting that the brewery will continue to operate as it always have, with no changes to beers or brewing method or distributors. So it's they seem to think they can keep going.
I was going to say they've got to have a plan, because what was it, just 2 years ago they revived the brand, right?
Yeah. It's only 2 years old.
To get that deep in 2 years.
They started really badly, really deeply in debt. I think they set it up to fail, really, from a financial standpoint. That's my understanding.
All right.
So bad news for lovers of bourbon and barrel-aged beers. Thousands of barrels of Jim Beam bourbon were burned in a warehouse fire. 2 Jim Beam warehouses went up in smoke on Tuesday evening, taking with them 45,000 barrels of bourbon. 45,000 barrels.
That makes
Brian,
me sad.
Isn't
so
it
sad?
But
Yes.
isn't this like the third or fourth one?
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
either fallen apart or burnt. What's going on in Kentucky?
I have no idea. They seem to think it's a lightning was involved in it, and the parent company is saying they don't anticipate this is actually going to make an impact on your ability to buy Jim Beam.
Okay.
I think it could be lightning, or it could be some white lightning and some rednecks getting a little crazy.
That
I don't
can
know.
happen too. I had some friends that their main concern was Mila Kunis okay?
Yes.
Here in the Jim Beam collapse.
I
there.
can report that she is fine. She was unharmed. Mila
Okay.
Kunis is safe from the Jim Beam fire.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, that's good news. It's a good good news to hear as we go for a break, Brian. You listen to the Beer Guys Radio Show, and we'll be back very soon with more from Lonerider Brewing.
Have you ever thought about owning your own brewery but don't know what it takes to get one built? We're Storytime Construction, and we build breweries. We're Georgia's most experienced and hands-on contractors when it comes to building new breweries and tap rooms, or expanding existing breweries. We offer full build-outs, remodeling, and additions, as well as consulting and construction management. Give us a call at 770-733-4343. Storytime Construction. We build breweries.
As a brewery owner or taproom manager, are you looking for ways to enhance your customer experience while maximizing your revenues? Craft Cellar is a mobile solution that helps your brewery drive sales and attract new customers through online pre-sales for beer releases, events, and memberships. Get details now at craftcellar.com. Mention Beer Guys Radio after sign up and extend your free trial to a full 30 days. Remember craftcellar.com, craftcellr.com.
Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
The numbers all go to 11.
Does that mean it's louder?
Well, it's one louder, isn't it?
Now, back to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Beer Guys Radio Show. If you miss an episode, don't worry. All episodes are available as a podcast. Subscribe on your favorite podcasting app and never miss a show. Now more from Galen Smith and Lonerider Brewing.
Galen, I was looking at the Lonerider website. I was basically stalking you online to find out what I could find out about you.
As you do.
And, yes, as you do. And I found out on a post you did, it looked like maybe I think 5 years ago, you mentioned kind of how you got into brewing, and also mentioned you're a private person and didn't really want to share all that info. So I think now is a good time to mention all of that again right here on the radio. But
yeah, sure thing.
No, we won't dig it up too much. We'll just the short version, if I understand correctly, you discovered kind of craft beers when you were on a trip to Amsterdam, sitting on a patio over there. You got some Dutch beers and Belgian beers, and that led you on a journey because you couldn't find them back here in North Carolina. That you started homebrewing. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's the short of it. Yep,
that's a show. I thought that was kind of a good synopsis.
Yeah, it's a good summary.
Okay, and then how did you go from home brewer to professional brewer?
Well, I started home brewing shortly after I got back from the Netherlands, and I was a cook. I was a line cook, and then eventually became a chef, and I was home brewing at the time, and I got to that point that every chef gets to where they just get burnt out. Like they're going to keep going, or you're going to die. And at that point, at that breaking point in my life, I got in touch with the owner of the homebrew store that I was buying my supplies from, and they had an opening for a sales clerk. And I was like, "Yes, I will work for you. I'll work at a homebrew store." And so I did that for a couple of years, and really, because of the awesome discount I got, got to familiarize myself with the ingredients that we were selling, and then about 2 years after that, I was approached by a guy opening up a brewery outside of Raleigh, and I helped him open up his brewery, and I worked for him for 3 years. And then after that, went to work for Lonerider in October of 2011, and then was there for about 2 years and was promoted to head brewer.
It's pretty quick movement. That's good stuff, man. So you mentioned that you were a chef prior to this. How much does your culinary background impact the way you brew?
There are a lot of parallels there. As far as like paying attention to time and temperature, and sometimes sanitation, more so in brewing, a lot more in brewing than cooking. But not as much as you'd think. Like I don't use as many crazy ingredients in brewing as I do when I was cooking. I'm much more of a purist when it comes to beer production. That's kind of my...
I noticed mostly got a half a brown ale, IPAs and a Pilsner in that. We haven't seen any double creamsicle, triple dry hopped glitter beers from you.
Yeah, you probably won't.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
I think it's funny that the attention to sanitation and cleanliness is much higher for beer than it is for food, like at a restaurant.
True, though, right?
I mean, I think it is true, but this is a recreational drink with alcohol in it that should kill off anything, but far more focused on that than at a restaurant. This kind of trips me
If a little bit of chicken spoils, so be it, but we don't want to risk a batch of beer.
Yeah, well, a lot of the foods that come out to your plate from a commercial kitchen, go through pasteurization anyway. So,
right.
That's a good point. Yeah. So you've spoken on how much different it is to go from home brewing to be a professional brewer, and a lot of home brewers really romanticize the professional brewing thing. What's some of the biggest eye-opening things, the biggest surprises you had going to being a pro brewer from being a home brewer?
I don't know, man. Going into it, I had a pretty good idea of what the job was going to entail because I did have such a hectic career in commercial kitchens prior to that. So I kind of knew what I was getting into. I knew that it was going to be hot. Long hours, I wasn't going to see my family much. But the things that I didn't know, just how expensive it is really to produce beer. Honestly, I thought I had no idea how much the equipment costs were, cost of goods, cost of repair and maintenance, because stuff breaks every day. Those are the big ones. Absolutely.
Yeah. That's something we've seen, as home brewers. Brian and I have helped out a few times on brewing commercial batches of beer. And I remember the first one we helped on, boy, it whipped our butts pretty good, Brian.
Yes, it did.
Because, you go from the home brewer, you're hanging out in the garage or the backyard, you're brewing a little batch, you're hanging with your buddies, the grill's going at the same time, whatever. Yeah. When you've got 1,000 pounds of grain to mill and get in the mash tun, that's not you're not gonna do all that other stuff. So,
no, you're not.
And
especially with Lonerider, we're brewing on a 20 barrel system, and we fill 60 and 80 barrel fermenters daily. We're on track to brew probably around 16,000 barrels this year. And so, we're brewing a lot. We're brewing at least 3 times a day to fill our 60s and 4 times a day to fill our 80s. And so, it's a lot of work. We have a silo, so our base malt is covered there. So you're not lifting sacks of 2-row, but all the specialty malts you're lifting them, and it's hot, man.
That's some hot work. The first indication I had at how expensive actual real production brewing equipment was when I started looking at brew kettles for home brewing that were much beyond the 8 or 10 gallon size. They started to go up in price astronomically. I'm like, what is going on here?
The one that I bought.
Oh yeah, because you got a nice one, the fancy burner. Yeah. Mine's a hodgepodge. Mine's a leftover crab oil burner, and
I had a sign-on bonus.
Yeah,
there you go.
Pay for a car or buy home equipment.
Get it in there.
Priorities.
Galen, my mash tun, my cousin from Mississippi came through to visit and left the cooler at my house, and it's a rectangular cooler that has an imprint on the front of a guy bass fishing. And that was Brian. We put some really nice beers through that
award-winning beers have come through that cooler. Yes,
but and that's something that I do think that from what I've seen and heard, having that kind of ingenuity as a home brewer, tinkering and that, all of that's going to serve you really well being a pro brewer.
It will, yeah. So long as you're on a non-automated system, that's going to do you a lick of good if you're brewing for a brewery where you can mash in from your kitchen table at your house. But if you're working for a brewery like Lonerider, yes, having the mechanical background and ingenuity to design, repair, and all that good stuff on your equipment, it's vital.
So Mitch Steele can't get in there and start tinkering with that system, I don't think. No,
I've seen Mitch's office. He's got brew controls and a guitar.
I can't speak to Mitch Steele's mechanical background, so.
Right, yeah. So what would be the biggest tip that you would give someone now, now that you've got some years under your belt? If someone is a home brewer and wants to go into professional brewing, what would be the main tip you gave them?
Make sure that you really want to do it. Because, just like when I was a cook, I became a cook because I loved cooking at home. Then when I became a professional cook and chef, I didn't cook anything at home. I was eating cereal. And then when I became a brewer, I didn't I didn't brew at home anymore. So make sure that it's what you want to do. Make sure that your heart's in it. That's the big thing for me. Absolutely. Second, be humble. You're going to mess up, you're going to make mistakes, and it's inevitable. And the best thing to know is, is that you're going to make those mistakes and how you're going to recover from those.
Even if you're the best home brewer, that doesn't mean you're going to step foot on a professional brew system and crank out identical beers to what you were making at home, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, you might be able to, but I mean, you're going to screw up. You're going to become complacent at some point, and with that comes failure. And the most important thing is to know how to fix it, how to recover from that. And don't be afraid to tell somebody, don't be afraid to tell your boss that you messed up.
Absolutely. Yep. Own up to it and move forward. You're listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We need to take another break, but we'll be back very soon with more from Lonerider Brewing.
We are Reformation Brewery, celebrating the reformer in you. Locally crafted within the renowned Etowah watershed of Woodstock, Georgia, Reformation creates yeast-forward brews full of aroma and flavor crafted to last. Come see us in beautiful Woodstock, Georgia, for a tour and tasting of unique brews that you can't find anywhere else. Reformation Brewery. Set beer free. ReformationBrewery.com.
Craft beer forged with a reverence for tradition and new styles that start a revolution. Ironmonger Brewing. The brewers at Ironmonger Brewing pride themselves at being masters of barrel-aged, hoppy, and sour beers. They invite you to their tap room in Marietta, Georgia to taste and see. Also visit their barrel room for an intimate drinking experience with great live entertainment. Keep up to date on all things Ironmonger by liking them on Facebook. Ironmonger Brewing, establishing a new standard in craft beer.
Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Now, back to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
Shake it back! Woo!
Welcome back to the Beer Guys Radio Show. I want to give a quick shout out to one of our great radio affiliates, KLID 1340 AM in Poplar Bluff, Missouri. Catch Beer Guys Radio on KLID every Saturday at 4 p.m. Central. Now let's get back to our talk with Galen Smith and Lonerider Brewing.
Galen, we did plenty of good homebrewing talk there, got some good advice in that, but we want to talk some about Lonerider.
Sure thing.
So you guys just you celebrated your 10th anniversary. I believe the actual anniversary was in January, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
And then a big party in April, but I think I saw that you're going to have events kind of throughout the year to celebrate 10 years.
Yeah.
So what have you got planned, kind of coming up there?
It's mostly releases at some of our accounts, some of our more loyal accounts. We also just opened up a satellite tasting room in Wake Forest, North Carolina, which is just a town away from us, just about 15 minutes, really. So we'll probably have, an anniversary party there. 10 years for a North Carolina brewery is kind of a big thing.
Yeah, it is.
Craft beer 10 years ago wasn't, there were craft breweries in North Carolina, but there weren't many for sure.
Yeah, that's the same thing we see here. We've got maybe 2 or 3 that are 20 years, 25 years old, but for the most part, if you're 6 years old here, you're ancient.
I know, it's kind of funny.
In Georgia here. Yeah, it is. Now, the Wake Forest tap room, is that just a tap room, tasting room? Do you do any brewing there?
No, we don't. That is just a satellite tasting room. We might have a small pilot brewing system there. By small, I mean very, very small. In the future, but really, it's just tasting room.
You get to go in there and do some relive your homebrew days on a little.
Yeah. We just bought one of those Zymatic systems. And so we're tinkering with that right now in the Raleigh brewery to figure out how we can kind of make that possible to brew in at the Wake Forest hideout.
So I heard that until now you didn't have a pilot system. Is that right?
Man, we still don't really have a pilot system.
Oh, you don't?
We don't. No.
Brewing on the 20 barrels at a time, right? Pilot batches.
I mean, yeah, we can do 15, and if we really, want to push it, we can do 10. But the efficiencies get all weird when we try to do that, so we try not to go below 15 barrels. So if we want to kind of toy around with something, a new idea, we will do like specialty infusion kegs, and if it works out, we'll scale it up to a 15-barrel batch and serve it in the tasting room.
Now, you said that you don't get too crazy like some of the culinary stuff there. What's the wildest beer you've done at Lonerider?
The wildest beer we did at Lonerider? Well, it's a Magnificent 77.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys had that down in Atlanta, but it was a IPA that had 77 different hop varieties from 7 different continents.
Oh,
it was 77 IBUs, 7.7 ABV. Yeah, it was 77 all around.
Did that beer cost like $40 a bottle for like a 12 ounce or
$77?
$77.
Yeah.
I missed an opportunity there. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So how did the hop profile come out on that with that many varieties?
I mean, it was muddled. You have that many hops, in addition, it's gonna be muddled, man. And so like we've changed it in the future years. I don't know if we're gonna be making it in the future. But the first year we did it was just a big old mess of just muddled hop flavor. People will be like, "Oh, I think I'd taste Centennial."
Sure,
and I'd be like,
you
"Yeah,
do. Yes, you
it's
do.
in there. Yeah, anything you say, yes.
You throw a dart at a hop name, and then you're like, "Yes, that is in there." Right?
Yeah. What's funny is I was shortly after we came out with the first version of that beer, I was in Yakima for the YCH Hop School, and I was taking a taxi back to my hotel, and I was sharing the taxi with Stan Aeronimus. And he was like, "Oh, you're with Lonerider. You just came out with that beer that had 77 hop varieties in it." And I was like, "Oh yeah, it's more hop varieties than one to any other beer in the world." And he's like, "Well,
okay,
oh, hang on." Right. Yeah.
And I was like, "Wait, no, I did my research. It is." And he's like, "No, there was this guy like 5 years ago that this guy in Denmark that came out with this beer that had like 357 different hop varieties." And I was like, "Are you kidding me?" He's like, "Well, no, I mean, it was a 5-gallon batch, and he was like a hop breeder, so
okay,
well, that doesn't count."
Come on, get out of here with that nonsense.
Galen's like, "Stan, if you tell anybody else about this, we'll get stuff." Yeah. We mentioned Stan a couple weeks. Stan lives in Atlanta now.
Does he really?
So we've had, he moved here, I guess, a couple years ago. We've had him on the show once, and I saw him recently. Stan will be joining us again soon. He's touring, I believe he said South America is on the agenda. And we're going to get him back on to talk about kind of craft beer happenings down there. So it should be a good time.
Yeah, we see him at events all the time.
That's
it's
awesome.
Kind of fun. It's like, oh, hey, Stan Hieronymus right there.
Yes,
checking
right
out
there.
The new breweries. Speaking of beers that are kind of weird, it seems weird to me that your 10th anniversary beer was a Belgian quad. It seems kind of out of, context or out of, I don't know.
Not Lonerider.
Yeah, it doesn't
the persona.
It does not seem outlawy. What was the story with that? Why did you go Belgian quad for a 10th anniversary beer?
Personally, I love Belgians, right? I mean, it goes back to the first real craft beer I had, sitting in that patio bar in Amsterdam, and we do make a fair amount of Belgian beers with seasonals and one-offs at Lonerider. So when I was coming up with the idea for our 10-year anniversary beer, I wanted to be pretty big, and I said, well, let's do a 10% quad for 10 years, and we don't bottle anymore. We used to. We started off bottling, but we don't anymore. We haven't bottled in about 5 or 6 years. So I was like, let's do a Belgian quad. We'll put it in 750 milliliter champagne bottles. Bottle condition, cork and cage, the whole deal. And it turned out great. I'm very, very happy with that beer.
Did you use 10 different kinds of Belgian candy sugar in it?
Nope.
Because that would be amazing.
Nope. I'm not running that gimmick anymore.
Yeah, not going there. No, I did that once. That's all we need to do. No, I love quads as well.
Yeah.
That's I'm totally down for it. Did that one go to distribution? I have not seen it down here yet.
It didn't, no. So all the, we brewed a 15 barrel batch of that. And then we took about 3 barrels and put that into bottle conditioning, and sold it all out of our tasting room. And then the rest we did draft and sent it out to, distribution. But all the bottles were sold out of our tasting room.
Okay. Super LE, Brian. Wellsboro.
Yeah, Wellsboro. Yeah. And you haven't bottled beer in quite a few years, right? It's all cans, isn't it, for you guys these days?
Yeah, that's right. And so that's what made the Lonerider X so special, is because we don't have any bottling equipment anymore. We have a 12 head, rotary filler for cans, it's a 3-seamer, and it can do, 120 cans a minute. It's a nice machine, but we don't have any bottling equipment. So every single one of those bottles was hand bottled by me, hand corked, hand caged with me and our marketing manager, Tammy. And then I built a labeling jig for it and labeled every single one of those bottles. It was special.
That beer was made with love.
Yeah,
that's right.
Absolutely. You're listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We do need to take a break, but we'll be back soon with more from Lonerider Brewing.
Hi, I'm Patrick Murtaugh from Hardywood Park Craft Brewery, and you're listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
Brian and Tim, the Beer Guys. If you're like us, no lunch or dinner is complete without a pint or two of craft beer.
Which is why Truck and Tap in downtown Woodstock, Alpharetta, and Duluth are always on our list. Tim, why do they call it Truck and Tap?
Well, the tap part is easy, Brian. They've got 18 of them.
As for the truck part, that's where it gets interesting. Truck and Tap features your favorite Atlanta area food trucks, so you're getting a different menu every day.
Truck and Tap in downtown Woodstock, Alpharetta, and Duluth.
Truckandtap.com. Let them know that the Beer Guys sent you.
Is your brewery or restaurant flooring all jacked up? Your foundation needs to be protected from heat, chemicals, and other contaminants. At the same time, you want to make sure it's slip resistant and you can clean up your messes with soap and water. You know who to call?
ResTech.
We've been manufacturing poured-in-place flooring since 2002, and we've got solutions to fit any facility's needs. Go on and visit our website at
ResTech.net.
That's RES-TEK.net. Drop us a line and we will come to you for a free evaluation.
Oh, yeah. Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Next Friday is Hawaiian Shirt Day. So, if you want to, go ahead and wear a Hawaiian shirt and jeans.
Now, back to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Beer Guys Radio Show. If you enjoy the show, please consider supporting us on Patreon. Just go to patreon.com/beerguys. Patrons can get some cool perks like Beer Guys swag, commercial-free episodes, and even some bonus episodes that you're not going to find anywhere else. Now more from Galen Smith at Lonerider Brewing.
Galen, we just opened up my personal favorite Lonerider beer. We have Pistols at Dawn.
It's also one of my favorites.
Man, I love this style of beer. I like the can art on. Now, I remember this one back in the day when it was in Bombers.
Oh, yeah.
And getting the Bomber bottles on that one. And the one we're sipping on right now, we went with under your recommendation, we opened the 2015 Pistols at Dawn. Now, this says it is a stout brewed with cocoa nibs and coffee, and I noticed that it was referred to as a brunch stout. We see a ton of breakfast stouts, but what makes this one specifically a brunch stout?
It is a brunch stout because, we were concerned with putting breakfast stout on the label, honestly.
Oh, other people use that name, huh?
That's correct.
I got you. Okay.
But effectively it is. But we label it as a brunch stout, but it is it doesn't really fit into a style. It's not really a cream stout or a sweet stout. But what it is it's a strong stout brewed with oats in the mash, along with maris otter and your typical other stout malts, roast barley, chocolate malt. And then in the boil, we add a hefty amount of lactose to it. And then in the fermentation, after fermentation, we add a good amount of cocoa nibs from Ghana. And then we add a lot of cold brewed coffee from Counterculture Brewing Company here in North Carolina.
We are both big fans of Counterculture coffee.
Good stuff. I brew them at home a lot.
Yeah, I think you'd mentioned off the air that was the Big Trouble blend, right?
That is correct.
Yeah, that's some good stuff. That's some really good stuff.
Yeah, it's real good. And, the main difference, you guys are tasting the 2015. In 2016, we decided to kind of up everything a little bit. So it's a higher ABV. It's now 9%. There is more coffee, more chocolate in that beer. So it's pretty much what you'd expect it to be.
Those are some of my favorite things.
Yeah.
So, I'm down with that. Absolutely.
So this gets released every year. Around what time of the year should we expect to find this?
We usually release Pistols at Dawn, usually at the end of the year.
Okay.
So we'll
get it for the holidays, Brian. Enjoy it for the holidays.
Pistols at Dawn at the holidays.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll brew a batch usually like in the late summer, early fall, and then barrel age half of that. And then, the non-barrel aged gets packaged, sent out to market, and then the barrel aged stuff usually is served in our tasting room and goes to select accounts, but it is not canned.
I really want to try that the barrel aged version. You could also look into an afternoonsies beer, because I haven't heard. I've heard of breakfast stout. I've never heard of afternoonsies.
I like
There's
that.
a good reason for that, Brian. Do you, Galen? You're totally humoring him.
I like
right
Galen
now, aren't
a
you?
lot. He is my favorite person ever.
Afternoonsies sounds pretty good. The thing you have to be careful of with afternoonsies is sometimes if you start first thing in the morning, you are awake when the hangover begins.
Oh,
this is true. Got to be careful with those. Now, I was going to ask you about if I read correctly, is Sweet Josie your most popular beer?
No. Sweet Josie, Shotgun Betty, usually run neck and neck. Shotgun Betty usually is a stronger seller in the warmer months, obviously. And then usually around like September, there's a flip and Sweet Josie pulls ahead. And then usually around like March, Shotgun Betty pulls ahead. But in the past 2 years, Shotgun Betty has been in the front lines. It is the best seller. But Sweet Josie is for sure our favorite beer to brew at Lonerider.
I think it has the benefit of being hazy, and that's very cool these days. Hefeweizens and haze and all that sort of thing. Well, maybe
Sweet
not
Josie? No, you're mixing them up.
I'm mixing them up. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
Sweet Josie has okay.
Yeah.
My bad.
I was going to say, hey, a hazy brown. I mean, you know what, Galen? You can use that if you want. I don't think anybody's. I don't think anybody's doing a double dry hop hazy brown.
Yeah, it's not going to be me.
I was getting all nostalgic about Shotgun Betty because that's one of those beers that when I had it, it really impressed me. I'm like, oh my, this is really good. This is a Hefeweizen, and yet also very good. Like this does not compute. So I always think of that fondly. It was one of my very favorite Hefeweizens for a while. So
Shotgun Betty's a good one. When Lonerider opened up, it was kind of a ballsy beer to come out with as your first flagship, right? Like.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
It wasn't a popular style then. It's not a popular style now, but it is one of our it's our best selling beer.
Yeah. That's just that's crazy to me. Speaking of things that, well, I guess they don't have to be or might be hazy, and just beer trends in general. So you've made a double Brut IPA, and we kind of heard that a lot about Brut IPAs, and then suddenly they seem like they disappeared. So, I mean, what do you think the story is with that? Do you think that's a fad that's going out of style, or is that something that's going to be in for the long term?
I feel like it's going to be around for a while because, it's a backlash to, your hazy New England IPAs, really, I feel like. And then, and because New England IPAs and hazy IPAs and your lactose milkshake IPAs, are so polarizing, especially amongst brewers, I think that your brewed IPAs are going to be around a while. I mean, that's the whole reason I brewed one.
Oh,
you know, something that I think, this is just my opinion based on my exposure to brewed IPAs, that I think may have hurt kind of perceptions for some people on them. There was very little consistency from brewery to brewery as to what their interpretation of the style was.
Yeah.
So, you know, and that's, anytime something comes out and it's hot, everybody wants to do their take on it. We had several brewers here in Georgia do their take on a brewed IPA, and I probably tried over the course of a couple months 10 of them.
Mm-hmm.
They were almost totally different beers going from one to the other. The ones that I tried that, in my opinion, hit the style as close, and we tried, was it Camino Brewing, Brian?
Camino had really good one.
That is out west, and they're close to the place where the style originated. He did one that really nailed it. The ones that I've had that I thought fit the style profile really well, I enjoyed. But there's, you shouldn't get a super hazy brute. You shouldn't get.
And we have,
yes. Right? Someone's saying, "Hey, this is a brute." If you talk to a brewer and they're like, "Oh, I didn't use any enzymes. I did this and that. We just did this and that." They're just kind of half-hearted take on it. And if you don't have something people can identify really clearly, it does hurt the style having some growth there.
That is true. And I'll agree with you that, it doesn't have consistency. I've had a lot of hazy brewed IPAs, and it shouldn't be like that. I feel like it should be crystal clear, almost, as light in color as water, effervescent, zero bitterness, a lot of aroma, but zero hot burn. And that is what we sought out to create with Double Draw. I think the ones we've had that I've liked the most have had more of a kind of a grape type hops that tend to lend
winey, like
wine or
take.
Grape. And I'm trying to think of the hop varieties. I keep thinking Hugh Melon, but
there's
that's
Hallertau
Blanc. Yeah.
Yep.
The ones that use those, that seems like that works the best. So I noticed yours is it a double IPA? Is that because it's just the alcohol levels at a double IPA level, or did you do something further to enhance the bruteness of it?
No, the double IPA part of it is just the alcohol. But we did up the hops because it is so high in alcohol. But man, it doesn't drink like a 7.5% IPA at all. We used Pilsner malt, flaked corn, flaked rice. Of course, we used the Amylo 300 enzyme in it, and then it was Simcoe and Amarillo hot side, only on Whirlpool. And then dry hop, it was equal parts Laurel and Mosaic. So you do get a little bit of that kind of noble hop characteristic from the Laurel, but Laurel's kind of a cool hop, man. It does have some Pacific Northwest hop character to it as well.
Good stuff. I enjoy it. Yeah. I've enjoyed the beers. And the brute that you described to me, I'd be all about that. That sounds really good. Well, Galen, we are running short on time here. We wanted to just mention quickly Lonerider Spirits, a new venture for Lonerider, correct?
That is right.
And right now, just in North Carolina, Raleigh area, is that a factual statement?
Yes, it is in the RDU area.
Okay. And I think right now you have out a sherry cask finished bourbon with more in the planning stages, and some of those are going to be inspired by the beers that you brew, correct?
Yes, eventually. You will see those out.
I salute your choice to use sherry casks. I like those in my spirits. I like that a lot. Yes.
We wanted to talk more about it, but sometimes the clock just catches up with you there. But Galen, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Well, that wraps it up for this week's episode of the Beer Guys Radio Show. Coming up next week, we're going to have the crew from Asheville, North Carolina's Highland Brewing in the studio. For more craft beer info, follow us online. We are Beer Guys Radio on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thanks again for tuning in. Have a great week, and don't forget to drink local. Cheers.